basically that's it. I hope to I gave you new insights today in the world of website design. So with that, I guess we're ready to proceed with our question and answer portion, which I'll be happy to answer your questions and even give examples.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much, Sir Robert. Now we're opening the floor for questions. If you have a lot of questions, just type it in the chat box. So, of course, these are a lot to take in. And I'd like to answer, I'd like to ask the first question, actually, Robert. So, there are, based on the profile of our attendees, there are some who are developers and some who are designers. Okay, so how do you how can you actually explain how those who are, how do I say it? Sorry. How can you explain to those who are developers how to design well? And what about the designers who want to learn more about developing? Parang how do you find the balance in those?
That's a good question, and that's a very difficult question to answer. Okay, how do you basically, yeah, how do you find balance in website design and development? Because they are basically two very different things, no? And you want to cater design for the developers. You want them to be able to design easily, and for designers, you want them to be able to develop easily, right? So how do you balance those? How do you take those into consideration? Um, from my experience, and I've worked with a lot of developers in the past, um, developers usually have their own workflow, and and in reality, when you're a hardcore developer, you don't want to use a CMS. They would say, I said use WordPress. They don't want to use WordPress. They want to develop their own CMS because that's how they do it. They can do it easily. Um, and they have the know-how, the knowledge to do it. So with developers, they usually develop their own CMS. For designers, they don't know how to develop websites. So designers usually use these types of tools like WordPress with Elementor. So I guess that's a that's a way for designers to be able to develop websites easily. You can use these tools. Again, that's you just use yung mga visual builders, just like this one. There are a lot. You can do your own research and see which one is fits for you. So I guess that's for designers. Use these tools. But for developers, how can they design? Um, how do developers how do the developers design websites? Okay. Developers use these Bootstrap themes. Bootstrap themes are basically just like standard templates that you use. For example, a website has 3 columns or 4 columns or 5 columns, right? Um, these Bootstrap themes usually have those templates ready for them, and they just fill in the information. So Bootstrap themes, it's easily available on the web. It's open source. They just download it and they just plug in information there, and then it looks good. They just need a designer to enhance further what they've done. So that's what they usually do. So if you think of it, it's basically two different, I don't know, work processes. Developers don't want to use Elementor or those drag and drop interfaces. They want to develop and hard code the websites. Designers, on the other hand, want a more easier and a more visual process or workflow for them. So it's two different things.
So a good suggestion would be to work together and all. But if you're good at both, edi great for you. Okay.
Yes, that's true. Work together din. Pwede. Oh, yun naman yung usually ginagawa. Yes.
So another question actually, we have a lot of questions right now. Sir, ano po mas preferred niyo sa WordPress to purchase? Premium or personal? And bakit mas expensive yung personal than premium sa WordPress?
Bakit mas expensive yung personal? The premium sa WordPress. Actually, for the what do I prefer in WordPress? Premium to purchase premium or personal. I actually prefer to purchase a premium. We're talking about the theme, the theme or the visual builder. Um, you just purchase a premium one. Basically, if it's paid, it's called premium na. So why do I why do I prefer premium? Kasi if it's free, there are free themes out there, di ba? If you install WordPress, you get free themes agad. You can customize the free themes, but it's really hard to customize. You have to know CSS, you have to know a bit of coding. The developer didn't really try really hard to think of everything because the developer is just offering that theme for free. They're just giving you the bare minimum things for you to configure it. But if it's premium, the developers of that theme really thought of everything for you and made things easier for you by developing that those visual builders that you can use. So you get what you pay for. So premium is what I prefer. And um, bakit mas expensive yung personal at premium? Mas expensive yung premium. Premium is paid. And then personal I guess that's just free. Free layouts lang siya.
Okay, thank you. So we have another question from Mr. Nico. So in terms of current web design trends, how does it greatly affect the traffic of your site or client site? And is it also effective to go against current trends? And another question from him, what are good websites to check on the current web trends?
Okay, good question. In terms of the how does it affect the traffic of your website? That's a good question. Let me share my screen again. Show you an example. I think this is an example you're really familiar with. Okay, so with Lazada, all of these online shopping websites, and I know you're familiar with this. um, you you get an experience that is parang streamlined, 'di ba? You know, you expect that the login and sign up is up here somewhere, right? And then you have a search box. You always have a slider. You always see the categories of the products. Um, Going back to the question, how does the design affect the traffic on your website? So if you see if you go against the trend, the current trend or the current standard even of website. Let's say you experiment a bit. Gusto mo yung login and sign up, ilagay mo doon sa baba. Hindi siya makikita ng tao kasi the people expect those things to be up there on top, not below. And then your site will be quite hard to use. And then you as a designer, maybe you think na okay, I don't want a search box. Maybe it's just too big. It's too cluttered. It makes the layout too cluttered. I just don't want it. Okay, you don't want it, but the people really need that. Diba? They need that search box. They don't even have to click on anything. They just have to see the search box there. So if you go against the trends, it it could actually decrease your website traffic. So it's really smart to go with the trend in web design. See what other people are practicing right now. See what websites are doing, what other websites are doing, and but does that mean you cannot go against the trend? It depends. If it's your own personal website, if it's your own portfolio website, you can express yourself a bit more, diba? But if you're doing a website for a client and the client needs to sell a specific product, I don't think you can go against the trend. You have to go with the trend and practice uh, the standards in web design so that the users will be able to use your website easily, diba? So yeah.
So what are good websites to check the current web design trend?
Okay. Webdesignledger.com. I check that website and all the time. Um, Also, this might sound really parang simple answer na hindi ko pinag-isipan, pero Pinterest. If you just Pinterest is like a visual search engine. Eh. If you just search on Pinterest, it leads you to these other websites who have those articles. Um, and let me see. I'm just looking at which websites I've checked on the past. Awards.com. AWWW. Awards.com. Awards.com. I'll put it in the chat box. This website gives a lot of web design inspirations and basically award-winning websites. They list all the websites there. You can check them out. It's a good place to check inspiration.
Is Behance okay?
Yeah, Behance. Behance is more for for artworks, graphic design, but meron ding mga website and user interface sa Behance. Eh. So yes, Behance is also good.
Okay. So we have another question from Danielle for the typography. Do you also use the same font as your logo, assuming that you have a text as a logo does, including it in the 1 to 2 fonts rule? So is it okay to use the same font as your logo?
Yes. You are actually expected to use that font because that's the style that you dictated from the start. Yun yung nasa brand mo.
But, I'm sorry, Robert, your audio is...
sorry. Hello. Ayan. Is it good? Better? Okay. So... okay.
Yeah.
Ayan. So, yes. You're actually expected to use the font of your logo. But you also combine that with another font. Usually, yung mga brand, I've worked with different brands and I've looked at their brand style guide, yung mga guidelines nila. Parating included yung font ng logo dun sa mga acceptable fonts that they would use. It's always there, but it's also mixed with another one. Always 2 fonts. And I suggest to always just use fonts from Google Fonts. Fonts.google.com. Yeah, you can check that link out as well. Because those fonts are web-safe fonts. That means any font that you use in Google Fonts, web designers and developers can use as well.
Okay, so as you mentioned, in case you didn't hear, so if you want to use, there are web-safe fonts, fonts.google.com, and it's best to look at the brand guide. Okay, of the brand. Sometimes kasi they already specify there what are the fonts that you have to use in their brand. Pero of course, Robert, what if kunyari yung logo niya or yung brand guide niya, mga script, yung mga hindi mabasa?
Okay. That's a good question and also interesting. Sometimes yung mga brands, they don't even have brand guidelines. It's up to you actually as a designer to choose a font for the brand you're working for. If you think they're a more modern type of company, maybe you can go with sans serif, diba? More traditional serif. Again, Google Fonts. Google Fonts has everything. A lot of developers and designers use that. So I recommend you just look at that library. Also, another advantage to that is yung mga yung mga websites like thefont.com, diba? You also use that. That's more of a repository of fonts. That means they just dump all the fonts there. Users submit fonts, upload fonts there. It's not it's just an online library. Google Fonts is a curated collection. So parang editor's picks siya. Parang ganun. So kumbaga nasala na yung mga fonts sa Google Fonts. So they're really quality fonts.
Okay, thank you, Robert. So we have a lot more questions. So
sure.
Let's go to this question. I'll just summarize this question because it's quite long.
Okay.
because of the recent trends, actually every year there are different trends, diba, on websites. But usually some of the websites look the same. How can you make your website look unique? Feel unique with a lot of the websites you visit and not just another generic website made from Elementor, same website trends.
Okay. I guess this is related to the other question na parang ano, I mean, my answer will be related to the other question. How can you make your website look unique? How can you make it pop out from the rest? I think that's where you break the trend or bend the rules a little bit. So if you, as you see, if you know that you should always, let me share my screen for this answer. Ayan. So if you've been taught or that the current practice is always align your images with your text, don't align it. Make it obvious that it goes to the next section. It overlaps to the next part. I think there are examples of that here. See, usually ano rin, see, each section ends with a horizontal line. To make it more unique, don't end it with a horizontal line. End it with a diagonal line. So you bend it a bit. You make it a bit more special. Eto. So instead of presenting both of them in one row, the picture of the guy is tilted upwards. So it makes the layout look a bit more artistic and creative, diba? So you go against the usual boxiness of web layouts. You just get more creative. Like ito, kung paano niya finrame yung mga images niya. It's up to here, but some of the elements go past that frame. The truck goes past the frame of the background. So with those things, it all boils down to to creativity. So that's how you make it more unique. Yeah, you have to be more creative. You have to bend the rules a bit, just a bit, not too much. Because if it's too much, your users will have difficulty using your website.
And I think, may I add to that? Yeah,
sure.
But of course, as you know, technology progresses, diba? Like before, wala naman tayong mobile-friendly website. And now everything has to adapt to make the websites mobile-friendly, diba? It's adjustable. Yeah. And of course, before parang normal HTML lang, CSS, and now we've progressed to mga HTML5, tama ba? Diba? So, kaya nagbabago rin yung mga trends. So,
that's true.
Speaking of trends, another question, single page versus multi-page website. So which one is better? Like some of the examples you've shown are single page.
Yeah. Sharing my screen again. It's actually it depends on the amount of information your client gives you. If your client gives you so much information they want to put on the website, then you have to go multiple pages for you to accommodate all of those informations. Because you don't want to present all of those information in just one page, right? But all of these examples look like they're one-page websites because the homepage typically contains a preview of all the sections of your website. So you have a slider or a focal point, and then you present them with the courses that you offer, a gallery, you have a plan, so yung pricing, and you have a snippet of your team, but they can also go here to view the whole team. They also have a contact form here, but you can also go to contact. So it's you present all your sections on the homepage, but it's just a preview. You can go deeper into each one by going to each specific section. But to answer your question directly, when do you use a one page or a multi-page? Usually, a one page or a landing page is used to market an app, a software, a specific product. Kunyari, right now we're doing one for an air purifier. Air purifier lang siya. So it's just one product. Ito, iPhone SE. It's just one product. So it's just a one-page thing. Also for, ano pa ba? An app. An app is common. Landing pages. For example, you click an ad on Facebook, you go to a one-page website about that product. So yeah, landing pages. You call those funnels, but it's a different topic. So ayun. But again, if the client gives you a lot of information, then go with multiple pages.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, ang dami nating questions. So,
no problem.
Coming lang. Drag and drop websites are easily accessible now. So as a designer, so this is a question coming from a designer. Is it important? Is it necessary to have coding skills? Take note that we also have developers here on our. So, paano ka ba?
Yes, you have to. It's recommended that you have to have basic knowledge about HTML and CSS, so that even if you use these drag and drop solutions, you can still edit and customize them even further. Sometimes kasi yung mga drag and drop solutions, they also have their limitations. Like if you want to create a 2-column layout, but in the second column you want to further break that layout down into 6 more columns. Parang ganyan. Sometimes these drag and drop solutions don't have that function. So you have to have the know-how of basic HTML and CSS to be able to do that. And you have to understand how the whole structure is made, how all of those are work together. So in order to do that, you have to have a basic knowledge. If you're a designer and you want to use these drag and drop tools, mga visual builders, then I recommend you have basic knowledge of HTML and CSS.
Okay, sir, what are your tips for building a portfolio on UI design? What UI design tips do you have for building a portfolio?
UI design for portfolio. This is more of UX. UX is more of a user experience. Just to let you know that in portfolio websites, the people who want to view your works, the people go to your website because they want to view your works. And so they don't want to click and click and click into sub pages before they are able to view your work. So make sure your work is viewable upfront with just a few clicks. I think 3 clicks is the most yung pinaka-acceptable. But if you can lower that to 2 clicks, then that's good. Or even if you can present your works on some of your best works on the homepage of your website, then do, so that they don't even have to click on anything. They just see your works right there.
Yeah, that's right. And dito natin makita yung importance ng knowing the objectives of your website, right? So
that's right.
Objective.
Yeah.
So another question, have you ever had an experience where what the client wants was not possible, or when the client mindset was less streamlined than the current trends? How could you satisfy both the UX UI and the client idea?
That's a nice question. That's a good question. Yes, I've had several clients like that. As a designer, think of it. They hired you because you're the expert. So if you think what they're saying is not reasonable or hindi yun yung current trend or standard, then you have to tell them it's not really done like this, diba? I think what they're you can tell it to them in a nice way that what they want isn't standard and this is how everyone does it, they will usually listen. But there are also clients who really want to push what they want, diba? So with that, um, sometimes I just do what they want and then show them the disadvantage of the of the solution that they proposed. But most of the time, I do a compromise. Um, you take some of the inputs ng client and then you also apply your own inputs. Parang you do a compromise. You meet in between. So, ayun.
Okay, thank you. Speaking of trends, there are a lot of negative reaction regarding the new fresh Facebook desktop interface. The UI seems like it is imitating the interface of the phone app. What can you say about this, Facebook?
Actually, hindi lang ngayon, di ba? If you think about it, every time Facebook changes their interface, they always gain negative reaction. Not only Facebook, narinig nyo lang yun sa Facebook kasi siya yung pinaka-most, I guess it's the most used app right now. Diba? When Instagram changed their logo, they all got negative reaction. When Twitter changed the way they display the tweets, they had negative reactions. When Instagram changed the algorithm of the posts that you see on your feeds, they got negative reaction. People hate change. You just have to know that we all hate change. We just want Facebook to stay the way it is, diba? Forever. Ganyan na lang yung layout. But can't help it eh. These developers change those layouts for a reason. They kumbaga they adapt to the current trends, to the current technology that we're using. Before, ganun yung design ng Facebook kasi that's the capability of our devices. But now our devices have more RAM, we have better screens, diba? Sometimes our devices display the Facebook desktop app on small screen. So that's why they have to do those changes. They have to do those changes to the UI. So what can I say about that? Every time that websites or those big companies implement a UI change, it will always be irritating to the people because you're already used to the past one, diba? Why change it? It will always be irritating. But just so you also know, it won't stop. They will always continue to change that and refine the interface as we go through the years.
Nice, thank you. Okay, so we're actually nearing our end, pero ito, I have another question. What can you say about working as a freelance or a businessman with multimedia, with websites, graphic design? How can you give advice to all our young people here regarding the business side of multimedia, from even if you're a developer or a designer or a client?
Yeah. Actually, if you're in the multimedia and advertising field, you're in the right track, I can say. Especially now when the pandemic hit. Grabe, as in parang there was a really big surge of demand for digital services. Really big. Everyone wants an e-commerce website. Everyone wants to go online. Everyone wants to migrate. And think of it, I wake up, I look at the window, it's sunny outside. Then I work. Then the next time I look outside, it's already nighttime. So parang one day isn't enough for all the work that we're getting. So doon pa lang nalalaman ko na grabe talaga yung demand. And kung kanina pinakita ko more on corporate companies yung sinaserve namin, ngayon puro SMEs, mga small businesses, because they are the ones who need to go online. And because now that everyone's forced to be online, in the future everyone will be online. So the trend will, I guess, it will just be sustained, that nasa everything is online. So that the demand for digital services will be sustained in the future. So yes, if you're in the multimedia field, you're in the right track, because that's where we're all going, digital.
And how do you actually start a portfolio if you don't have like much website designs or development in your portfolio? How do you suggest you can create more portfolio? Is it okay to actually offer services for free? Mga ganon?
Well, you start with offering. Minsan kasi if you don't have works, you just start you just do something, a web layout on your own. But I think it's better if you work with an actual client. Ask a relative, ask a friend, hey, can I do a website for you? I'll just do it for free. It's just for my portfolio, just to build my portfolio. So if you do them a website, you've you've trained yourself. At the same time, you've built your portfolio more, diba? So yes, you can do things for free. But of course, if someone asks you, hey, do you build a website? Can you do it for your portfolio? Mag-isip ka na. Baka pwedeng mag-charge ka na doon, diba? Only do things for free if you really want it, and if it's for your portfolio.
May pahabol question tayo.
Sure.
Sir, gaano katagal bago mag-rebrand? Sorry, haba. This is a concern with rebranding, not just in website. How long should a brand identity last before it can rebrand? Should it be along the period of the trends? What are your thoughts on branding for small businesses like online selling of beauty products and management such as agency that use Facebook as the platform? So when can we rebrand?
Okay. Yes, it the rebranding usually go with the trend. It um it depends the trend of your industry. Let's say, for example, dati restaurant ka that is located in Makati, and you serve the offices in that specific street. You can have this specific brand. But now during the pandemic, all of those offices are closed. You sell online. So you have to rebrand, definitely. You have to make your brand more appealing online. And I guess now you're targeting a different market, diba? So it depends on the time. Uh, and if your market target market's behavior has changed, you have to rebrand. Minsan maglalabas ka ng isang bagong product or service na hindi na naaayon dun sa branding mo before, 'di ba? So you have to cope up with the times and do a kahit hindi naman rebrand, kahit a slight change lang dun sa brand mo para mas mas tugma siya, mas appropriate yung brand mo sa products mo.
So we are at our last question. Wala nang pahabol. Okay. Since most people are using smartphones, how can you make a website look better and viewing it mobile? Is it mobile friendly? Or some concepts to consider that your website still looks good when viewing it in your mobile phone?
Actually, if you use these drag and drop apps like Elementor, and these for programmers, yung mga Bootstrap themes, all of these are already responsive. That means all the layouts that you create will look good on mobile. But how do you make it mobile friendly? In the end, it goes down to experiencing the website yourself first, going through a user testing first. You have to test the website first, see if the experience is good on mobile, and then if not, you adjust it through these tools. Yung mga Elementor, yung mga visual builders, it will actually give you a view. Parang meron siyang option doon na parang how will it look like on mobile. Tapos liliit yung screen mo. Will parang magiging mobile phone width siya. And then you can actually see and tweak your layout sa mobile view. So you have to do user testing and adjust to make it more user-friendly on mobile.
Yeah, thank you very much, Robert. So we're actually by the end of our program, of our seminar. But before that, I'd like to invite you to visit rocketshipdesigns.com. Tama ba?
Yes, rocketshipdesigns.com. Thank you.
Yeah, if you need a designer, but most of you are designers anyway. For inspiration, or you can message Sir Robert if you have any questions. And also, like and follow MAAP Official at Facebook and Instagram. So we're just beginning MAAP. Medyo nag-slow down tayo because of the pandemic. I hope everyone's doing fine during the pandemic. But right now, what we're doing is we're just offering these free online seminars with certificates. So if you follow us, you get updated on more free seminars, okay? So you can go to maap.com.ph to know more about MAAP. So thank you very much, Sir Robert. And thank you everyone for coming. I hope that was enlightening. And thank you again, Sir Robert, for gracing us with your presence here in the seminar. And that's it. We're at the end of our program. Thank you very much. And I hope you all stay safe.